Discover the amazing secrets of Earth's Proterozoic Eon. Transformative insights revealed. The tattered journal lay hidden in the attic, thick dust particles swirling in the narrow beam of light that barely filtered through a grimy window. Lily Sanders, a 15-year-old girl trapped between youthful wonder and suffocating expectations, stared at it as if it was a portal to another world. In a town where family and tradition ran deeper than rutted roads, the journal belonged to her late grandfather, a man she had never met, but whose passion for science whispered through the yellowed pages. A part of her felt guilty for wanting to dive into something so outlandish when the family hardware store teetered on the edge of bankruptcy. Mom insisted on helping with the store, her voice thick with hope and worry. "We need you here, Lily." But when she glanced at the bright cover of her biology textbook, a vision of the Proterozoic Eon gleamed in her mind. Marine life bursting with colors and forms, existing in a time of unimaginable biological abundance. Pursue science? The voice of her father echoed in her head, filled with condescension. What does that even mean for our family? They were counting on her. The pressure pressed down with a weight that felt like a lead blanket. Did allegiance to her family require silencing her dreams? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Sitting cross-legged on the attic floor, her heart raced as she skimmed through the journal. Each line unveiled a world vibrant and intricate, the way life evolved from simple cells to the complexities that walked the earth. Could she possibly use this knowledge to ignite interest and save the hardware store? Yet, when school presentations rolled around, she visualized Ethan, the glittering star athlete whose laughter echoed around her insecurities. What does a hardware store and some old fossils have to do with real life? He would likely sneer in front of their classmates. The very thought of standing up in front of her peers ignited a storm inside her, a battle between fear and determination. Her social life hung by a thread, and each moment of hesitation tightened the noose. Just when she thought the storm within her could not grow any more turbulent, she stumbled upon family secrets intertwined with her grandfather's research, stories she had never been told, stories that laid the groundwork for everything she was grappling with. But every piece of newfound knowledge unlocked a floodgate of anxiety. The weight of expectations closed around her throat like a vice. As the day of the presentation approached, the pit in her stomach deepened. Could she truly let her dreams sail amidst tradition's storm? Would they, including Ethan, mock her passion, or would they see the wonder she had found? On the tipping point of dread, she rehearsed her speech alone in her room under the shabby posters of ancient life. No one knew her struggle, her desire to roar like the ancient creatures her grandfather studied. But the looming questions continued to root her in uncertainty. In that moment of preparation, she stood on the edge of self-doubt. What if she failed? What if she stood alone beneath the spotlight's glare, voice trembling? As doubt pricked at her resolve, she thought she heard the faint echo of her grandfather's passion guiding her. Would this be her moment of transformation or another crushing defeat? The storm outside mirrored the tempest within, relentless and chaotic. Here she was, ready to confront the dark murmurings, ready to unveil her truth if only the universe would allow her to speak her mind. The sun rose reluctantly the next morning, casting thin, muted rays over the cluttered attic that had become Lily's sanctuary. With the old journal nestled in her arms, she felt a mixture of apprehension and excitement, the tension within her simmering just beneath the surface. Today would test the limits of her courage, a crucial moment where her dreams tiptoed on the edge of reality. She dressed quickly, yanking on a faded t-shirt emblazoned with a science pun that had once made her smile. But now, even the humor felt hollow, jarring against the throbbing anxiety that raced through her veins. Glancing into the mirror, she scrutinized her reflection, noticing the uncertainty etched around her eyes. Was this the face of someone who could captivate an audience? Lily made her way to school, each step echoing with the weight of her decisions. She navigated the familiar halls heavy with memories and expectations, her friends' laughter a distant hum compared to the thunderous noise of her self-doubt. Would they regard her with pity or scorn? The voices taunted her, creeping in, reminding her of her place in the hierarchy, right below the popular crowd led by Ethan. With every moment spent pacing in her mind, she sought assurance in the pages of her grandfather's journal. Perhaps within his writings lay more than just data on ancient life. Maybe they held the key to unlocking her own potential. The allure of the unknown beckoned her forward, yet behind her stood the looming figure of her father's expectations. Science wasn't just an interest. It was yet another nail in the coffin of tradition. By the time she reached the classroom, her palms were clammy, and her breath came in shallow bursts. Standing at the front, a simple projector whirred to life, illuminating images of stromatolites and dazzling marine realms. She clutched the edges of the desk, ready to launch into the presentation, and the frenzy of thoughts began to pour out. Some of you might not find ancient life interesting, she began, her voice as tiny as a whisper, but a surge of frustration danced through her, cutting through the fog of doubt. But the Proterozoic Eon is phenomenal. It was a time where life was so diverse it practically painted the ocean blue. Lily's words tumbled faster, fueled by adrenaline and the thrill of sharing something so vibrant. Excitement bubbled in her chest as she described creatures that bloomed like the very leaves outside her classroom, how each organism played an intricate role in life's tapestry. The initial awkwardness faded away, replaced by a rhythm that flowed from within. She risked a glance at her classmates. Some faces bore confusion, but others sparkled with intrigue. The spark ignited in her as she noticed Ethan leaning forward, unexpectedly drawn in. She continued to weave history with personal passion, relating her grandfather's dedication to delving into nature's mysteries and the traces of imperfection in their family's otherwise simple narrative. But just as she found her footing, Ethan lifted a hand impatiently. Seriously, Lily? How does this but before he could scoff? She cut him off, heart racing against her ribs. In that moment, Lily recognized the core of her struggle. Was she merely an extension of her family's expectations? Or had this narrative been building within her all along? I know I'm from a hardware store, but maybe I am meant to find my own life outside it. The way ancient life transformed the earth, she boldly asserted, laying bare her contest of self against tradition. The air thickened with tension as she left the challenge hanging in the room. Her heart thundered against her chest, indecision clawing at her determination. Would Ethan challenge her right here, or had she inadvertently started to bridge the chasm that divided her from the people she feared? In this delicate moment, she too was teetering on the edge of her aspirations and her family's realities. As the final bell rang, laughter and chatter erupted around her. But Lily stood paralyzed, feeling both exposed and empowered. She had unveiled a part of herself, yet shadows of doubt still loomed larger. Would she embrace this change, or retreat back into her familial role? There, in the swirl of chaos, she faced a precipice of potential. Would she leap, or would she hesitate? In the midst of it all, a flicker of determination ignited a signal that her journey of self-discovery was just beginning. With her heart pounding, she resolved to confront the implications of her growth, knowing full well the journey ahead would demand as much courage as this moment had required. The moment had arrived. Which path would she now choose? Lily lingered in the aftermath of the presentation, her heartbeat echoing like the resonant waves of the ocean she had just described. The classroom noise enveloped her, yet she felt insulated, as if she were viewing it all through a glass wall. Was this what empowerment felt like? The strange juxtaposition of exhilaration and uncertainty twisted in her gut. She had exposed a piece of her soul today, yet the lingering critiquing gaze of her peers, especially Ethan's dismissive expression, haunted her. As she walked slowly towards her locker, the chatter faded into a murmur. She replayed her words, dissecting every syllable, analyzing the tone and rhythm. Did it reach anyone? Did it make a difference? A glance at the reflection in the glass of her locker offered some clarity. She looked different. There was a flicker of defiance in her eyes, a hint of someone awakening. The next class brought a shift in ambience. As the teacher droned on about cellular biology, Lily's mind kept drifting back to her grandfather's journal. It wasn't just a relic of the past. It was a bridge to her own future. She had associated it with authority, shackled to familial expectations, but now it offered something more, a lens through which she could scrutinize her growing identity. During lunch, she took a seat away from the usual crowd, needing solace from the usual swirl of gossip and the oppressive presence of social hierarchies. It was time to confront the very foundation of her beliefs. She rifled through the notebook she had started. The pages were filled with her own tangled thoughts, incredibly chaotic yet raw with potential. What did she truly want? The pursuit of science? The freedom to explore herself without the shadow of expectations looming above her? Each question pushed her further away from the tight-knit comfort of her family. And yet that was precisely where she found her strength, by opening up to possibilities that challenged her comfort. After lunch, she spotted Ethan lingering by the entrance, and the anxiety flickered back to life. He pushed past the throngs of students with an air of confidence that seemed so at odds with her newfound resolve. Avoiding eye contact, she sensed him draw closer, a familiar jolt coursing through her. "Hey, Lily," he called after her, his tone strangely vested with curiosity. "That was different. I didn't see you as just the hardware store girl up there." His words hung heavy in the air. Was his compliment genuine, or just a facade? The tension within her coiled tighter, yet as she met his gaze, the impulse to protect herself wrestled with an undeniable urge to confront him. She decided to take a step forward into the unknown. "Thanks, but it's more than that for me. It's about really wanting to know what I can do, beyond everyone else's assumptions." A cool resolve settled over her as she spoke. She felt unshackled, even in a situation that once would have caused her to falter. "Look, I get that," Ethan replied. "I'm just trying to figure out where I fit in too." Maybe we could. Before he could finish, the bell blared, echoing deep within her like an alarm signaling change. She felt a rush of momentum, almost magnetic. His words pulled her in, yet she also recognized the potential it held for blurring lines they both had drawn. Turning away, she felt emboldened, a sense of autonomy washing over her. This was her narrative. She could choose how it unfolded. Igniting the flickering embers of her determination, she began planning how to dive deeper into her studies, to not just content herself with anxiety, but to harness it for progress. Each step away from Ethan felt like she was shedding layers of self-doubt. She envisioned setting up a science club, a forum where she could explore her passion, challenge peers, and dispel preconceived notions, even if it meant crossing paths with skepticism again. Yet uncertainty lurked, a reminder that each path came with sacrifices. Would her peers rally behind her ambitions, or would they leave her standing alone amid their laughter? That night, tucked into her covers, she flipped through the pages of her grandfather's journal. The texts offered glimpses of ancient wonders, evolutionary mysteries that had changed Earth, revealing the interconnectedness of life. And perhaps within their stories, she would uncover her own narrative, one where she could thrive without fear. But how far could she really go before her journey unearthed the buried expectations of her family? In those quiet moments of reflection, she awaited the answer, knowing that her next move would be pivotal in crafting a future uniquely her own. The risk loomed large, yet the thrill of discovery called out with restless urgency. What was she truly willing to sacrifice to pursue her dreams? The question buzzed like an electric current, a potent reminder of the crossroads ahead. The dawn light crept tentatively through the curtains, illuminating Lily's room like a soft spotlight, beckoning her towards action. She had barely slept, her thoughts racing through the possibilities of the science club she dreamed of assembling. This was no longer a mere idea floating in the ether. It was a tangible ambition, one that required careful cultivation. As her fingers grazed the pages of her grandfather's journal, his words vibrated with a clarity that pierced through the fog of her doubts. "Science bridges the past and the future," she whispered to herself, seeking solace in his wisdom. How fitting that his legacy would serve as her launchpad. Today would mark her first step toward organizing the club. The old library at the edge of the schoolyard seemed like a fitting venue, quiet yet vibrant, with knowledge a sanctuary for like-minded seekers. Giving herself a mental pep talk, Lily threw on an oversized hoodie, smoothed her hair back, and set off, each step brimming with the charge of a new purpose. As she navigated the hallways, the echoes of laughter and chatter felt less oppressive and more like background noise. Each passing smile, each indifferent glance, became a stepping stone in her journey towards self-definition. She sought out Ms. Turner, the science teacher whose passion for biology had long ignited a spark within her. "Ms. Turner," she called, her voice steady but soft as she approached the desk cluttered with half-graded papers and textbooks. "Can I talk to you about starting a science club?" Ms. Turner looked up, her genuine surprise melting into encouraging anticipation. "Of course, Lily. What do you have in mind?" Lily's heart raced as she sketched her ideas, the focus on applied science, experiments that intertwine with real-world implications, and even inviting speakers from the local university. The words flowed like a river, each idea solidifying her resolve. As she spoke, she could feel the energy between them, palpable motivation coursing through the air. "Sounds ambitious," Ms. Turner replied, a smile brightening her face. "I think it's a great opportunity for you and your peers to dive deeper into the subjects that fascinate you." Encouragement surged through Lily, invigorating her spirit. This was the validation she needed not only for her vision but for her own burgeoning identity. Yet, as she walked out of the classroom, a shadow loomed. Ethan's earlier curiosity felt more like a weight than a lift. Could he contribute anything positive to this venture? Or was he merely another reminder of the past she yearned to escape? Later that afternoon, seated at the library's long wooden table, Lily set to work, scribbling notes and ideas, outlining meetings and potential topics. With every stroke of her pen, she sculpted an identity that felt distinctly her own, an amalgamation of ambition, courage, and trials she had yet to face. The thrill that had accompanied the initial thought of a science club had now transformed into a solid commitment. She knew she needed support, though, and that might come from the very people she feared would dismiss her. Later, in the quiet of her room, her phone buzzed to life with a message from Ethan. "Hey, can we talk? I want to help if that's okay." The weight of her decision pressed down on her. Was trusting Ethan a risk? Despite his earlier dismissal, she wondered if there was an authentic spark beneath his casual demeanor. Did he mean what he had said? Or was this just a fleeting impulse? For a moment, she contemplated ignoring it, wanting to preserve the tender, nascent version of herself she had begun cultivating. But then she paused. Wasn't this journey about confronting uncertainties and finding strength even in unexpected places? What if she opened the door to collaboration instead of isolation? The echoes of her grandfather's insights swirled around her about evolution, adaptation, and the importance of connection. She could feel her defenses wavering under the pressure of curiosity. This was not just her journey, it could evolve into something shared, pushing boundaries beyond her own understanding. As she typed a careful response, she felt dizzy with possibility. This step could be her first lesson in teamwork, not just with Ethan, but with herself, learning to navigate the uncharted territory of vulnerability mixed with ambition. She pressed send, closing one chapter of hesitation while opening another filled with unforeseen potential. However, as she stared at the screen, heart pounding, a flicker of doubt whispered, questioning if she was ready to share this path with someone else. What if the support she sought came with complications she hadn't anticipated? In these moments, she braced herself to confront not only Ethan's response but the realization that the journey ahead could unravel more than just her faded past. Secrets and revelations of who she would become were lurking on the horizon. Would she rise stronger or stumble under newfound pressures? With that question lingering like a tantalizing puzzle, she caught the moonlight streaming through her window, casting shadows that danced across the floor, hinting at the unknown paths that awaited her. The days blended into one another as anticipation brewed like a steady hum in the back of Lily's mind. Each time she glanced at her phone, Her thoughts drifted to Ethan's message, replaying their interactions like scenes from a film she couldn't quite make sense of. Her heart pounded at the prospect of collaboration, yet an insistent knot twisted in her stomach. Vulnerability was not something she had ever embraced willingly. Just as the evening sun seeped into her bedroom, illuminating her plans for the club, her phone buzzed with a second message. "How about tomorrow after school? We can brainstorm ideas." Lily's head swam with conflicting emotions. On one hand, this was an opportunity to expand her vision. On the other, the possible ramifications of opening herself up to Ethan felt daunting. 1,000 scenarios played out in her mind, each rippling with the potential for failure or success. Ultimately, she couldn't ignore the whisper of her grandfather's wisdom. This journey was about more than science. It was about connection and trust. "Yes, let us meet," she replied, trying to sound more confident than she felt. The next day dawned bright and crisp, but inside Lily was a flurry of nerves. As she made her way to the library, she rehearsed what she would say. She wanted to impress Ethan with her comprehensive vision for the science club, and yet, what if he didn't share her enthusiasm? A tightness gripped her chest, signaling to her that even this simple act of collaboration could unravel her plans if she let fear dictate her thoughts. When she arrived, Ethan was already at the table, fiddling with a stack of books. As he looked up, a blend of anxiety and determination flickered in his eyes, mirroring her own. "Hey, thanks for coming," he said, his voice steadier than she expected. "Thanks for suggesting it," she responded, forcing a smile. Her stomach churned as they exchanged hesitant pleasantries. But she quickly reminded herself she was here to foster an idea bigger than either of them. "Let us dive into some ideas," she decided, perching herself on the edge of her seat, eager yet cautious. Ethan ruffled through the papers she had prepared, his expression shifting from casual indifference to sincere interest as he perused her notes. "Whoa, this is impressive, Lily. You've really thought this through." His affirmation sparked a flicker of encouragement inside her, and she felt the weight of her self-doubt momentarily lift. They began tossing ideas back and forth: exciting experiments, community outreach projects, and perhaps even field trips. As the brainstorming intensified, a surprising rhythm developed between them, each enhancing the other's thoughts and building on their shared goals. But then, just as Lily opened up about her vision for a guest speaker series, she noticed Ethan's expression darkening. "Lily, can I be real with you for a second?" His voice was serious, an edge of hesitation creeping into the air. "Of course," she replied, her heart slamming against her ribcage, preparing for the worst. "I think we need to talk about what happened last year, why it's been so complicated between us." Panic gripped her as she felt herself veering into forbidden territory. The enthusiasm that had permeated their discussion now morphed into tension, the air thick with unspoken pasts. Lily's heart raced not only about confronting an uncomfortable truth, but also the implications it had on her burgeoning professional identity. She stammered, searching for the right words. "I thought we could focus on the club, but if you think no, wait." He cut her off, his voice softening. "I just don't want to ignore it. I want to be on the same page if we're jumping into this together." With a knot of apprehension forming in her throat, she recognized the gravity of this moment. She had been holding onto the weight of their shared history, and now the prospect of honesty felt both terrifying and liberating. This wasn't just a conversation about the science club. It was a reckoning with her past decisions and the person she aspired to become. As they sat in the library, the world around them faded. Lily realized that this moment could redefine not just their partnership but her entire perspective on how far she could go. Could opening up about her vulnerabilities actually strengthen her resolve? With the walls of her hesitation still standing strong, she took a deep breath and considered her next words carefully. The balance between maintaining progress and confronting her own fears hung in the balance. Would she muster the courage to embrace this next phase? The clock ticked down, and she knew this was a pivotal moment in her journey. As a silent challenge loomed, she prepared to face both the past and an uncertain future. And as she met Ethan's gaze, waiting for the path to unfold, a shiver of possibility coursed through her. Would she step forward into something transformative? or retreat to her careful shell. The moment would define them both. The sound of the clock ticking in the background was deafening. As Lily locked eyes with Ethan, the weight of their shared history settled heavily between them. She could feel her heart racing, pumping urgency through her veins. Splitting her thoughts, a fierce inner battle took shape. Should she stay on track with their collaboration or navigate this emotional terrain first? Right, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. We can talk about last year. I think it's essential we understand each other before diving deeper into the club. Ethan nodded, the concern in his expression shimmering like a reflection of her own uncertainties. I don't want any misunderstandings to affect what we're trying to build. There's a lot we can accomplish together, but we need clarity. Taking a moment to gather her thoughts, Lily acknowledged the absence of clarity as the root of her anxieties. She had kept a wall up, fortified by past mistakes. The real danger was now. The choice to let that wall crumble in front of Ethan felt like an opener to an abyss. But she also realized that this process of honesty could help chart a clearer path forward, not just for the club, but for herself. Last year was complicated. She started, each word crystallizing her resolve. I guess I've been wary ever since. I valued our friendship, and when things changed, I panicked. I didn't know how to navigate the abrupt shift. Ethan sighed, the tension in his shoulders releasing slightly. I felt it too. We were good friends before everything got complicated, and it hurt to see us drift apart. I've been trying to understand how to rebuild that connection. For the first time, Lily saw the sincerity behind his words, which softened the apprehension she had been holding on to. The emotional tension began to meld with the productive energy from earlier, creating space for collaboration rather than retreat. Encouraged, she continued, what I'm realizing is that if we're going to make the science club successful, I need to be open not just about my ideas but about my insecurities too. Trust doesn't just form from shared goals. It's built on honesty. A flicker of admiration passed across Ethan's face. Exactly. And it's mutual. I want to bring my best self to this partnership. That means acknowledging what has held us back. There was a palpable shift in the room as they bridged the gap from vulnerability to optimization. Seeing Ethan's willingness to engage with her honesty ignited in Lily a newfound conviction this collaboration could thrive if both of them committed to transparency. Slowly, the conversation pivoted from their past misunderstandings to the future of the science club. Ideas flowed as they integrated personal aspirations with professional ambitions, transforming those earlier moments of uncertainty into a dynamic synergy. They crafted plans for experiments that could spark intrigue in their peers, including a monthly showcase of student-led projects that emphasized communication and hands-on learning. With each idea, Lily felt herself evolve, her self-doubt gradually dissipating, replaced by an invigorating sense of purpose. This meeting was no longer a mere brainstorm. It was a launching pad into the unknown territories of innovation and connection. But as they approached the conclusion of their session, a nagging thought lingered in Lily's mind. Would confronting their past really be enough to solidify a partnership grounded in mutual respect and collaboration? Could they maintain their personal integrity while daring to explore an uncharted emotional territory together? As they packed up their notes, an unspoken challenge passed between them. Would taking this leap together come with significant risks? And as Lily stared at Ethan, her heart raced yet again. The true test remained ahead. Could they navigate the complicated waters of their relationship while enhancing their shared vision for the club? The path to success was not only about achieving academic goals. It was about confronting fears, embracing uncertainties, and deciding just how far they were willing to go for this renewed connection. Lily knew she had only just begun to uncover what was at stake, and she was prepared to challenge her own boundaries. As they stood to leave, a question loomed large in her mind. Could this venture lead to a greater understanding of themselves and each other, or would it expose fissures too deep to repair? The following days swept Lily into a whirlwind of planning and brainstorming as she and Ethan dove headfirst into the logistics of the science club. Each meeting amplified not only their professional capacities, but also cast beams of light onto the personal shadows lingering at the edges of their conversations. Lily had never envisioned collaborating again with someone she thought she'd lost. The first few sessions were a delicate dance, their energies weaving between friendship and unresolved tension. Yet, as they began to define their individual roles, things gradually shifted. Ethan took on the organizational side of things, flowing smoothly with his meticulous approach, while Lily fueled discussions with her passionate ideas about hands-on experiments. One afternoon, as they stood in the lab surrounded by beakers and dusty textbooks, Lily proposed an ambitious project, recreating ancient ecosystems from the Proterozoic Eon. While her initial idea met with an enthusiastic response from Ethan, who saw the educational potential, it was a personal challenge that soon arose for Lily. Ethan had quickly grown more confident in his ability to manage their collaboration. He presented drafts of outreach emails, gathering interest from other students and teachers alike. But with that confidence came an unsettling awareness for Lily. She was often hesitant to voice her thoughts. Her instinct was still to retreat behind her walls, fearing exposure and the judgment that could follow. The stakes felt even higher as she watched him flourish. Was she prepared to claim her space, or would she allow him to outshine her yet again? Lily decided to put her hesitations aside for the time being. The glow of their budding project overshadowed her insecurities. Together, they planned a first meeting with the club members, her excitement boiling underneath the surface. Each glance at Ethan made her heart race, not just for the possibility of acceptance, but for the nagging thought that they were on the verge of breaking through their remaining conflicts. Hours before they were set to present their vision, she fumbled with her notes, confidence wavering. A small voice in her head whispered reminders of her past mistakes, urging her to dial back or become more agreeable. Yet, the thought of undermining her contributions drove a stake into that notion. She had promised to be open. This was her chance to embody those words fully. As they stood before their assembled peers later that afternoon, she felt the weight of their expectations crashing over her like waves. Ethan spoke first, his voice steady, recounting their vision and igniting the room with energy. The students leaned in, captivated. And then he turned to her. She was expected to follow, to add her piece to the puzzle. In that moment, time bent, and the ticking clock morphed into an alarm. Lily's heart raced, but she took a deep breath, the clarity washing over her. This project, she started, is not merely about science. It's also a message about the interconnectedness of our past and future. Her voice grew stronger with each sentence, fueled by the historic enormity of their endeavor. We are, right now, connected to that ancient earth, and by understanding it, we grow into something greater with each passing step. The applause erupted, shaking off her insecurities, if only for now. But as the excitement settled, she could feel the gaze of Ethan probing her, searching for a deeper connection beneath her public triumph. Somewhere, beneath the surface, a mix of gratitude and fear welled up in her. Could the success truly be shared? Or did it risk deepening the fissures that had yet to heal? Even as she stood triumphantly, the lingering questions sparked in her mind. Was she ready for the complexities this newfound role would bring? Or would old patterns resurface to haunt her once more? As the meeting dispersed, Lily felt a stirring anticipation underpinned by doubt. It was a reminder that every triumph rewrote the narrative of their relationship, each success carrying potential fractures. What would be the toll of this climb for both of them, and how far would they reach before one of them stumbled? The following weeks spiraled into an exhilarating yet turbulent dynamic for Lily. The science club burst to life, the energy pulsing with each idea shared, each experiment discussed. However, as their project progressed, the stakes grew exponentially for her. Ethan relished his role as organizer, effortlessly commanding meetings and drawing students into their vision. Each time Lily observed his ease, a constant battle raged within her, a blend of admiration, envy, and an acute reminder of her own uncertainties. In the midst of their planning, a dilemma surfaced that forced her hand. The club needed a leadership structure, roles to define not only responsibilities but also accountability. As they sat amid a sea of paper and colored markers, a silence dropped. Ethan's eyes flicked to her, as if expecting her to voice an opinion. She felt the room constrict around her, every set of eyes waiting, pressing her to step forward, yet her throat felt knotted. Ethan started, "We should probably designate positions to streamline our goals." I can handle the logistics, but we need someone to lead the educational outreach. Inside, a war of potential outcomes raged. She could default once more, allow him to guide the ship without her, or she could seize the moment. What if the result shattered the delicate balance they had been nurturing? But behind the veil of hesitation existed an inexorable pull, a desire to redefine herself, to bridge the gap between expectation and self-identity. I think I could lead that effort, she said, her voice gaining clarity and resolve. It startled her, as if the words found her before she could second-guess herself. Ethan raised an eyebrow, a flash of genuine surprise crossing his features. Are you sure? She swallowed, steeling herself against the creeping self-doubt. Yes. We need more than just enthusiasm. We need to engage and educate. I can reach out to local schools and museums. The silence in the room shifted, illuminating her potential rather than critiquing it. As the others nodded in agreement and support, her heart raced, not with fear, but with an unfamiliar rush of authority. She was being seen not solely as Ethan's counterpart, but as an individual capable of deciding the trajectory of this project. Weeks passed in fervent preparation. Each meeting assigned Lily escalating responsibilities that tested the mettle of her character. She created outreach materials, coordinated with teachers, and refined their educational concepts. The club thrived, the connection between the members strengthened by her newfound leadership. Yet, beneath the surface of success lay the familiar shadow of her fears. Ethan was now more of a supporter, stepping back as she took the reins. However, her thoughts often drifted to his initial surprise at her assertiveness. Had her boldness eclipsed their previous dynamic? As her confidence sharpened, she couldn't shake the feeling she might be repelling him rather than inviting him further into her world. One afternoon, as she mulled over materials for their outreach presentation, her phone buzzed a late-night message from Ethan. He requested a quick catch-up before the next meeting. The abruptness of his need raised her anxiety. What could he possibly want to discuss? As she approached the meeting area the next day, a pit formed in her stomach. Would he question her newfound authority? Texts turned into subtle confrontations in their world. Was he happy with what she had accomplished or harboring doubts about her capacity? The moment arrived, palpable with unspoken tension. Ethan stood waiting, an enigmatic expression etched upon his face. As their eyes met, the air felt charged. He had always been the reliable rock. Now he seemed out of alignment, like a planet veering off its orbit. Lily, we need to talk about something important, he began, his tone serious. The weight of his words plummeted into her stomach like a stone. What lay beneath the surface of his reassurance? Did their project risk fracturing their tentative bond? Could she maintain her newfound identity without losing what they had forged together? The question loomed large, offering no easy answers, only the promise of confrontation ahead. As Lily stood across from Ethan, the tension crackling in the air like electricity, she felt an overwhelming sense of vulnerability. What could possibly be so important that it required a one-on-one conversation now, especially when so much hung delicately in the balance? The room felt constricted, a stark contrast to the lively discussions of their club meetings. Go ahead, she said, forcing a steadiness into her voice, though her mind raced with possibilities. First, I want you to know I'm impressed, Ethan started, his tone softer than she had expected. You've really taken the lead, and it's inspiring to see. His words sparked a flicker of pride within her, a rush that almost dulled the impending dread weighing on her shoulders. Thanks, but she hesitated, searching his eyes. What's really on your mind, right? He shifted, looking down for a moment as if considering the weight of his next words. I've noticed that since you took charge of the outreach, you've become more reserved when we're discussing big ideas. I just want to make sure you're okay. You don't need to do this alone. We're a team. Her heart sank as doubt seeped in. Had her boldness isolated her? Had she misunderstood their dynamic after all? The urge to defend herself clawed at her gut. I know we're a team, Ethan, but I'm trying to step up. Isn't that what you wanted? He tilted his head, the corners of his mouth twitching as if caught between a smile and a frown. I never wanted you to feel pressured. This should be about collaboration, not competition. Pressure? Her voice tightened. Is that really what you think? I'm not trying to outshine you. I'm just trying to find my own way to contribute. Ethan's brows knitted together. I see that, and it's great, but I want to make sure you're also enjoying this. I guess I'm worried things are changing. The output is stellar, but you seem different. His concern held an unexpected sting, and she wrestled with the sensation that she was letting him down just as much as she was proving herself. If growing into her role meant losing her camaraderie with Ethan, was it worth it? The thought gnawed at her throughout their discussion, shifting her focus from success to doubt with every word exchanged. Maybe I'm just figuring things out, she replied, determined to keep her resolve. When I felt like I was just supporting you, it was comfortable. Now that things are shifting, I need to adapt. I thought that's what leadership is about. Ethan remained quiet for a moment, his expression serious. And it is, but it's okay to be vulnerable too. You don't have to have all the answers right away. The acknowledgement hit her harder than she anticipated. She had never wanted to admit her fears, much less seek reassurance. I just feel like I can't let anyone down. There's too much at stake for the project. With an understanding nod, he added, There's always going to be pressure, Lily, but don't lose sight of why you started this in the first place. You have so much to offer, don't let the fear of failure mute your voice. His words resonated deeply within her, and for the first time, she felt the weight of her own expectations shifting. How often had she curtailed her ambition out of fear? This conversation, though challenging, opened a door she had not realized she had locked. Thanks, Ethan, she managed, breathless. I appreciate that. As they wrapped up their discussion, she recognized that this steady dialogue was essential, their partnership a critical component of both their success and her personal growth. They needed to navigate these changes together rather than stumble apart. It wasn't about overshadowing one another but learning how to shine in tandem. Just as she felt a glimmer of clarity begin to unfold, he added, Let us meet again before the big presentation. Maybe we can brainstorm more together. Something flickered in her chest, equal parts relief and anticipation. Together, she echoed, yet curiosity bubbled beneath her composure. What else would they need to confront? As she walked away, determination ignited within her. She had new strategies to implement, a partnership to nurture, but also deeper questions about her capabilities. With each interaction, pieces of herself emerged that she never anticipated. What else lay within, waiting to be discovered? The next meeting approached quickly, and as she prepared for the collaboration to come, she sensed that yet another defining moment loomed just on the horizon. Would she be ready to confront not just her fears of inadequacy, but also the potential for greatness within herself? The pivotal moment awaited, promising to either reinforce her newfound identity or challenge it once again. The day of the big presentation arrived, and Lily awoke with the dawning realization that everything she had worked for was culminating in this moment. The past weeks had not only sharpened her professional aspirations but also transformed her understanding of collaboration. She gazed at her reflection in the mirror, and today, instead of doubt, she saw someone capable, someone poised for a breakthrough. In the hours leading up to the presentation, anxiety coursed through her like electricity. Each thought of the packed auditorium sent a tremor through her core, yet as she rehearsed her speech one final time, she felt the weight of her grandfather's journal in her hands, a tangible reminder of her roots, of what drove her forward. It wasn't merely a project. It was a testament to her evolution, showcasing not only her knowledge of the Proterozoic Eon, but her own journey toward finding a voice that mattered amidst familial expectations. Ethan met her in front of the auditorium, and they exchanged a reassuring glance, a prelude to a shared commitment to support one another. The camera clicks and murmurs of anticipation surrounded them, amplifying the significance of this moment, and she could feel their partnership blooming like the ancient life forms with which she had become infatuated. Perhaps the magic was in the ground beneath their feet, the whispers of long-ago life transcending time. As she stepped onto the stage, her heart thudded with urgency, yet determination rose to meet it. The initial nerves ebbed away as she began to speak, each word flowing with authenticity. Today we invite you to explore a time when life began to shape the world as we know it. She began, her confidence buoyed by the realization of how far she had come. The Proterozoic Eon is more than history. It represents an incredible tapestry woven through time, resilience, and interconnectedness. With each slide of vibrant, reconstructed organisms behind her, Lily imbued her passion and her grandfather's legacy into the narrative. She shared findings that outlined how ancient life directly influenced modern ecosystems, paralleling the very relationships that had been forged in their own science club. She watched as her classmates leaned into her every word, eyes lighting up with curiosity, and it was in that moment she recognized the importance of her own story woven into the scientific fabric. Ethan followed her lead seamlessly, presenting data they had compiled together, every logical argument showcasing both the scientific rigor and the creativity behind their outreach project. They danced through their presentation like well-rehearsed partners, highlighting the significance of collaboration, innovation, and vulnerability. As the applause rolled in, Lily could hardly process the victorious tide washing over her. A weight lifted, leaving behind the doubts that had historically overshadowed her ambitions. The resonant echoes of approval proved that her voice not only mattered, it garnered respect. What had initially felt like an insurmountable challenge transformed into a defining moment of achievement. As she stepped down from the stage, exhilaration coursed through her. The validation marked a significant turning point. Her grandfather's dream lived on, blossoming within the legacy she had begun to create. After the presentation, Ethan approached, a broad smile lighting up his face. "You own that, Lily. I knew you had it in you," he exclaimed, infectiously radiating enthusiasm. "Thanks to you," she replied, her voice steady yet full of exhilaration. "I couldn't have done it without our collaboration. I see now our strengths amplify each other." The way they exchanged words felt electric, brimming with possibilities. They were not just partners in academia. They had crafted an enduring bond that dissected the intricate nuances of growth, honesty, and ambition. The culmination of her exploration led Lily to a deeper realization about her identity. She was not merely a girl from the hardware store destined to follow a prescribed path. She was a catalyst for change, ready to carve her own niche in a world waiting for her contribution. The insecurities that once ruled her decision-making began to wane. She was emerging, meticulously defining her place in the vast expanse of existence. In the following weeks, the Science Club flourished, culminating in the inception of a community outreach program that expanded much beyond the borders of their school. Lily undertook a leadership role with conviction, inspiring others to collaborate on projects that explored the marvels of evolution while addressing contemporary environmental challenges. More importantly, she had conquered that lingering voice of doubt, silencing the remnants of fear with tenacity and a newfound leadership presence. As summer approached and new projects took shape, the ripple effects of her transformation emerged. Parents began to notice the overflows of excitement returning to the hardware store, instilling hope that the family business could thrive again. Her connection with her father eased gently, each conversation pivoting from expectation to celebration of purpose, a realization that dreams could exist side by side with familial duty. Lily's journey had not only reshaped her identity, but reignited a spark within her family that had felt lost for too long. Her mother began talking about the future of the store with renewed vigor, inspired not just by Lily's scientific insights but by the unshakable confidence she exuded. Emboldened, Lily reflected on the profound moments that had redefined her trajectory: the attic where she first discovered her grandfather's journal, the daunting presentation that melted away her fears, and each conversation that had chipped away at the self-imposed barriers around her. She had emerged triumphant, transformed by an unyielding commitment to her vision, ready to shatter boundaries and forge ahead into the expansive horizon of her potential. She needed no external validation now. The recognition emerged from within, cementing her belief that she was exactly where she was meant to be, beginning to write the story yet to unfold. As she gazed toward the setting sun, a glimmer of assurance coursed through her, lighting a fire within. This was merely the beginning of her journey, and the world was wide open. Now, It's your turn to dive deeper into narratives of personal growth stories that resonate, inspire, and ignite paths unknown. You need to subscribe now to catch the next transformative tale that will empower you beyond limitations. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure these stories continue to reach passionate seekers like you. Comment below with your reactions and theories about Lily's inspiring journey. What does it mean to you? Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion and embrace their own transformations. Don't wait even one more second. Make your impact today.